Hello, my dear friends. Imagine you slowly opening your eyes in a place that feels unfamiliar in every possible way. The air smells different. The sounds are quiet, but not peaceful. Wooden walls surround you, thin enough that you can hear movement outside. There is no bed the way you know it. No soft mattress. No pillow shaped for comfort. You are lying on a hard surface, maybe a mat, maybe bare wood. Your body already feels stiff. This is feudal Japan, many centuries ago, and the day has only just begun. As you sit up, you realize how exposed everything feels. Homes are simple. Privacy barely exists. Doors slide instead of locking. Windows are thin paper. Cold air moves freely inside. If it is winter, the chill stays in your bones. If it is summer, the heat and humidity press down on you without relief. There is no climate control, no easy comfort. The body must adapt, whether it wants to or not. Outside, life is already moving. Farmers prepare for work before sunrise. Servants hurry quietly. Samurai walk with purpose, their presence heavy and serious. Social order is strict here. Every person has a place, and stepping outside that place is dangerous. You cannot simply blend in. Your clothes, posture, and behavior would immediately mark you as strange. In feudal Japan, being different is not interesting. It is suspicious. Food is simple and limited. Breakfast is not a choice, it is whatever is available. Rice, maybe soup, maybe leftovers from the night before. Meat is rare. Sugar is almost non-existent. Hunger is common, especially among the lower classes. Eating is not about enjoyment. It is about survival, and even food follows rules. Who eats first? Who eats what, and how much you are allowed to take all depend on your status. Cleanliness exists, but not comfort. Bathing is common, yet it is communal and practical. There is no privacy, no luxury. Toilets are basic. Hygiene depends on water and habit, not modern products. Illness spreads easily. Medicine is limited. If you get sick, there is no guarantee of recovery. Many people simply endure pain quietly because there is no other option. As you move through this world, you begin to feel the weight of constant discipline. Life here is ruled by duty. For peasants, the land controls everything. For warriors, honor controls everything. For women, obedience and endurance shape daily life. Freedom, as you understand it, does not exist. Choices are narrow, mistakes are costly. Even words must be chosen carefully. Violence is always nearby, even when it is not visible. Punishment is harsh. Law is strict. Authority is absolute. A wrong look, a wrong tone, or a misunderstanding can lead to severe consequences. Fear is not dramatic here. It is quiet and constant, woven into daily behavior. People learn to keep their heads low, their emotions controlled, and their movements respectful. As the day unfolds, exhaustion arrives quickly. Work is physical. Rest is limited. Sleep comes early, but it is not always deep. The body aches from hard surfaces and long labor. The mind stays alert, even at night, because safety is never guaranteed. Darkness does not bring peace. It brings silence filled with uncertainty. As the night grows quiet, you begin to understand something important. This world is not designed for comfort, ease, or personal expression. It is designed for survival, order, and control. And that is why, if you suddenly woke up here, you would struggle. Not because you are weak, but because life in feudal Japan demands constant endurance, patience, and obedience. For now, remain still. Let this world fade slightly into the background. Let your breathing slow. In the next part, we will gently walk deeper into daily life, work, and social rules, and see just how heavy this world truly was. Imagine the morning in feudal Japan slowly beginning around you. The air feels cool and still. There is no sense of personal freedom the way we understand it today. Life here is shaped by strict rules that quietly control every movement, every word, and every choice. From the moment you wake, you are already placed inside a social order that cannot be questioned. Your position in society decides almost everything about your day. What you wear, where you walk, how you speak, even how you stand or bow in front of others. There is comfort in routine for those born into it, but for someone suddenly arriving from the modern world, this invisible pressure would feel heavy and exhausting. In feudal Japan, hierarchy is not just respected, it is lived every moment. Samurai, farmers, artisans, and merchants each have their place, and stepping outside that place brings trouble. A wrong gesture, an improper bow, or speaking out of turn can create serious consequences. Silence is often safer than words. You would quickly learn that it is better to observe than to speak, better to follow than to question. This constant self-control would drain your energy without you even realizing it. The mind stays alert not because of danger alone, but because of social expectation. Daily life moves slowly, but it is never relaxed. People work hard, often from sunrise until evening with little rest. Tasks are physical and repetitive. Farming, carrying water, repairing tools, cleaning living spaces, and preparing food are done by hand. There are no shortcuts, no machines to help. Even simple actions take time and effort. The body grows tired early, especially for someone not raised in this environment. Muscles ache, hands become rough, and exhaustion becomes normal. Food is simple and limited. Meals are not about pleasure, but survival. Rice, vegetables, and small portions of fish form the base of most diets. Meat is rare. Sugar is almost non-existent. Hunger is common, especially among lower classes. You would feel the absence of variety very quickly. The body misses familiar flavors. The mind craves comfort food that does not exist here. Eating is quiet and respectful, never rushed, never excessive. Even at the table, rules are followed carefully. Privacy is also rare. Homes are small, walls are thin, and families live closely together. Personal space as we know it does not exist. Your thoughts remain private, but your physical life is shared. This constant closeness can feel comforting to some, but overwhelming to someone used to modern independence. Silence becomes important, not just socially, but emotionally. Feelings are kept inside. Expression is controlled. This emotional restraint shapes people from a young age. As the day continues, you would notice how honor quietly controls behavior. Reputation matters deeply. Shame is feared more than physical punishment. Making a mistake does not just affect you, it affects your family and community. This creates a constant inner pressure to behave correctly. The mind stays busy, checking itself again and again. Even rest is not fully restful, because expectations never completely disappear. As the night slowly approaches, lanterns begin to glow softly. The world grows quieter. People move less, speak less, and prepare for rest. But even sleep is shaped by discipline. Mats are thin. The floor is hard. Comfort is minimal. The body must adjust. Lying still, you feel every ache from the day. Yet, exhaustion pulls you toward sleep anyway. As the night grows quiet, let us pause here. Imagine yourself lying on the floor of a simple wooden home, listening to distant sounds of wind and night insects. In the next part, we will gently explore danger, fear, and how strict justice shaped daily survival in feudal Japan. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. Imagine the day slowly moving forward in feudal Japan, the sun rising higher, your stomach already reminding you that food is never guaranteed. Meals in this world are not about comfort or choice. They are about survival. Most people eat the same simple foods every day, often twice a day, sometimes only once. Rice is the center of life, but even rice is not always available in large amounts. For many, it is stretched thin, mixed with grains, roots, or watery soups to make it last longer. The body learns to live with hunger as a quiet companion, not sharp pain, but a dull emptiness that never fully leaves. Meat is rare for common people. Fresh vegetables depend on the season. Fish is eaten near the coast, but far from guaranteed inland. Many meals are bland, repetitive, and small. There are no snacks, no comfort foods, no late-night eating. When food is gone, it is gone. You wait until the next meal, no matter how your body feels. This constant lack of calories keeps people thin, weak, and easily tired. Strength is not built through abundance, but through endurance. Food preparation itself is slow and tiring. Cooking takes time, fuel, and effort. Firewood must be gathered. Rice must be washed and cooked carefully. Nothing is wasted. Leftovers are reused. Even spoiled food is sometimes eaten if hunger is strong enough. Illness from food is common but often accepted as part of life. There is little understanding of nutrition, only tradition and habit. As you imagine eating like this day after day, notice how quickly energy fades. Walking feels heavier. Work feels longer. The body does not recover easily. Hunger affects the mind too. Thoughts slow. Patience wears thin. Emotions flatten. This makes daily life harder, especially in a society that already demands discipline and obedience. As the night grows quiet, you may imagine lying down still feeling slightly hungry, your body never fully satisfied. Sleep comes, but recovery is limited. The next day begins the same way, with effort required before energy is available. This constant cycle of low nourishment is one of the quiet reasons why you would struggle to last even a single day in feudal Japan. For now, remain still. Let this image soften. Let your breathing slow. As the night continues, we will gently move into another part of daily life in feudal Japan. Imagine now that the day in feudal Japan moves slowly toward food, something that sounds comforting, but in reality brings very little relief. Food in this world is not about pleasure or choice. It is about survival, routine, and restraint. Most people eat the same simple meals every day, often in silence without variety. Rice, when available, is precious. It is measured carefully and never wasted. Vegetables are plain and seasonal, boiled or pickled, chosen for what grows nearby rather than what tastes good. Meat is rare for most people, and when it appears, it is eaten sparingly, almost respectfully. Hunger is a quiet companion, not sharp pain, but a steady emptiness that never fully goes away. The body learns to work, walk, and bow while hungry. Strength is managed carefully because there is no extra energy to spend. Children grow up with smaller portions, their bodies adapting early to less. Adults accept hunger as normal, something not discussed, something simply endured. There is no snacking, no eating for comfort, no late meals. When food is gone, it is gone until the next scheduled time. Meals are quick and controlled. Eating too much too fast or too openly is seen as rude or greedy. Social rules shape how food is taken, how it is held, and how it is finished. Even the act of eating is disciplined. There is little talking, little expression, and no lingering. Once the meal ends, life continues exactly as before. There is no rest afterward, no softness, no sense of being full and relaxed. For farmers and workers, food depends on the harvest. A bad season means less rice, thinner meals, and longer hunger. For samurai, food may be more stable, but it comes with its own rules. They eat not for pleasure, but to maintain readiness. The body is treated like a tool that must remain sharp. Comfort is discouraged. Satisfaction is unnecessary. Hunger becomes part of discipline. The body reacts slowly over time. Constant low food intake weakens muscles and lowers resistance to illness. Recovery from injury takes longer. Fatigue settles deeper. Yet work does not slow down. Expectations remain the same. This creates a quiet strain inside the body, a constant push against its limits. Water is not always clean, and drinks are simple. There are no sweet flavors to break the routine. Taste is not a priority. Survival is. This lack of variety dulls the senses. Pleasure fades quietly from daily life, replaced by function and habit. As you imagine eating this way, day after day, notice how little comfort it brings. Food does not restore. It only sustains enough to continue. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Even the most basic human comfort, eating, is stripped of joy and turned into another act of discipline. As the night grows quiet, let this image fade gently. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body rest where it is. Let your breathing slow. Allow the story to soften as sleep moves closer. Imagine that the day has moved slowly forward in feudal Japan, and your body is already feeling tired. Work began early, long before the sun climbed high, and it did not stop easily. Whether you are a farmer, a craftsman, or someone serving a local lord, food is never something you think about casually. Eating is not pleasure. It is survival. Meals are simple, small, and often repetitive. There is no choice, no variety, and no comfort food waiting at the end of the day. Hunger is a quiet companion that stays with you, even after you eat. Most people live on rice, but not in the way many imagine today. Rice is precious. For many families, it is measured carefully and saved. Often it is mixed with other grains or vegetables to make it last longer. Meals are plain bowls of rice, thin soups, and pickled vegetables. Meat is rare for ordinary people, and when it appears, it is in very small amounts. Food fills the stomach just enough to keep the body moving, but never enough to feel satisfied. The body learns to live with this constant low hunger, and over time, weakness becomes normal. There are no snacks to reach for, no sweets waiting for moments of comfort. Sugar is rare and expensive. Bread does not exist in daily life. There is nothing quick or easy to eat when energy drops. When hunger returns, it is simply accepted. People keep working. The body slows, but the day continues. This constant lack of energy makes everything feel heavier. Simple tasks take more effort. Muscles ache faster. Rest feels shorter than it should. Water is not always safe to drink, so people rely on tea or weak broths. Even drinks are simple, warm, and plain. Everything about eating and drinking is controlled by necessity rather than enjoyment. Meals are quiet, respectful, and brief. Food is not a moment to relax. It is another task in the day. As the evening approaches, the body feels worn down. The lack of calories, the long hours of work, and the constant discipline leave little strength behind. There is no overeating, no indulgence, and no reward waiting at the end of the day. Sleep comes not because you feel comfortable, but because the body has no energy left to stay awake. As the night grows quiet, imagine lying down with a stomach that is never fully full and muscles that never fully recover. This is another reason you would not last long in feudal Japan. Life demanded strength, but gave very little back in return. For now, remain still. Let the quiet settle around you. Let the weight of the day fade slowly as rest continues in its own time. Imagine now that the day in feudal Japan moves gently toward its simplest but most demanding moment. Eating. Food, which feels easy and comforting today, was a constant concern in feudal Japan. Meals were small, repetitive, and shaped by strict rules, seasons, and social rank. For most people, eating was not about pleasure or choice. It was about survival and discipline. Rice formed the center of daily life, but even rice was not guaranteed. Many common people ate thin rice porridge mixed with barley, millet, or vegetables, stretched carefully to last as long as possible. Hunger was not dramatic or sudden. It was quiet, familiar, and always present in the background. Imagine sitting on the floor of a simple wooden home eating slowly, not because the food is rich, but because it must last. Each bite is measured. There is no rush, but there is also no abundance. Meat was rare for most people, often avoided due to religious beliefs and expense. Fish, when available, was shared carefully. Vegetables were seasonal and simple, often pickled to survive the winter months. Sweet foods were uncommon, saved for rare occasions. The body learned to function with less energy, and strength came from routine rather than nutrition. Meals followed strict social rules. Who ate first mattered. Where you sat mattered. Silence was common. Eating was not a time for loud conversation or relaxation. It was calm, controlled, and respectful. Even hunger had to be endured quietly. Complaining about food was seen as weakness. This constant self-control shaped the body and the mind, teaching endurance but offering little comfort. For warriors and peasants alike, food was tied to duty. Samurai followed strict codes that encouraged restraint even when food was available. Eating too much or seeking pleasure in food was discouraged. Discipline mattered more than satisfaction. This meant that even those with access to better meals often denied themselves comfort. Hunger became a form of training, a reminder of control and loyalty. As the night grows quiet, imagine how your body would feel living this way. always slightly tired, never fully full. Used to working, walking, and surviving on simple meals that barely replace the energy spent during the day. Modern bodies expect variety, calories, and comfort. In feudal Japan, the body was trained to endure less, and not everyone could adapt. As you sit with this thought, allow the image to soften. The quiet room, the simple bowl, the slow eating. In the next part, we will gently move into work and daily labor, and how constant effort filled every hour of the day. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own gentle time. In feudal Japan, life was not guided by comfort, but by expectation. From a very young age, people were taught that their value came from how well they followed rules that were rarely spoken aloud. Honor was not something you talked about openly. It was something you carried quietly, like a heavy object placed on your shoulders at birth. Every movement, every word, and even every pause was judged through this invisible system. For someone suddenly waking up in this world, the pressure would feel overwhelming. You would not know which gesture was polite, which silence was respectful, and which mistake could bring shame not only to you, but to everyone connected to you. Silence played a powerful role in daily life. Speaking too much was seen as careless. Expressing emotion openly was often viewed as weakness. Pain, fear, and frustration were meant to be carried inward, not shared outward. Even joy was often restrained. This constant control over expression made life feel tight and restricted. The body learned to stay still, the face learned to stay calm, and the voice learned to stay soft. Over time, this emotional restraint became exhausting, especially for someone not raised within it. You would feel watched even when alone, because the rules had already moved inside your mind. Hierarchy shaped every interaction. You could not speak freely to those above you. You could not look directly at certain people. You could not walk where you wished or sit where you pleased. Your position decided everything. Farmers bowed to samurai. Servants bowed to masters. Children bowed to parents. Everyone bowed to authority. These rituals were not optional. Missing them could be seen as disrespect, and disrespect could lead to punishment, isolation, or worse. Navigating this invisible ladder without lifelong training would feel impossible. Daily work continued under this weight of expectation. Tasks were done slowly, carefully, and without complaint. Even exhaustion was not an excuse. The body was expected to endure. Hunger, cold, and pain were accepted as part of life. Complaining brought shame. Asking for comfort showed weakness. Rest was earned only after duty was fulfilled, and even then, rest was modest and quiet. This made survival less about strength and more about endurance. Honor also shaped how mistakes were handled. Failure was not easily forgiven. A small error could follow a person for life. Reputation mattered more than intention. Even accidents could bring lasting consequences. Living under this pressure created constant anxiety. Every action felt heavy because it carried meaning beyond itself. For someone used to freedom of expression, this constant self-control would feel suffocating. As the night grows quiet now, imagine carrying this invisible weight through every moment of the day. Imagine having to think before every step, every word, every breath. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Life demanded not just physical survival, but emotional discipline that never rested. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. Imagine waking up in feudal Japan and slowly realizing that silence itself is a rule. Not the calm silence of rest, but a careful silence, shaped by fear of making a mistake. In this world, words carry weight, and even small actions are noticed. The way you walk, the way you bow, the way you speak, and even the way you look at someone all matter deeply. Society is built on strict order, and everyone knows their place. Stepping outside that place, even slightly, can bring shame, punishment, or worse. This constant awareness makes daily life mentally exhausting, even when nothing dramatic is happening. In villages and towns, life feels close and crowded. People live near one another and privacy is almost non-existent. Neighbors notice when you leave, when you return, and how you behave. Rumors travel quietly but quickly. Reputation is everything. One mistake can follow you for years, shaping how others treat you. Because of this, people learn to control their emotions carefully. Anger is hidden. Sadness is swallowed. Joy is shown modestly. The inner world becomes tightly managed, and over time, this constant control creates deep mental fatigue. Rules exist not only for behavior but for relationships. You must know how to speak to elders, to warriors, to monks, and to peasants. A wrong tone or gesture can be seen as disrespect. Social hierarchy shapes every interaction, from buying food to greeting someone on the road. Even children learn early that obedience is safety. This pressure does not fade with age. Adults carry it constantly, shaping their thoughts and movements every moment of the day. Work itself is shaped by these same rules. Farmers work long hours under the watch of landowners. Craftsmen follow strict traditions passed down for generations. Samurai live by codes that demand loyalty and self-control at all times. Breaking these codes brings serious consequences. There is little room for personal choice or self-expression. Life is less about what you want and more about what is expected of you. At night, rest does not bring complete relief. Homes are simple and often crowded. Sounds travel easily through thin walls. The mind remains alert, replaying the day, worrying about mistakes, and preparing for tomorrow. Sleep comes slowly, often lightly. Dreams, when they arrive, are shaped by the same concerns that fill the day. True mental rest is rare, because the pressure to behave correctly never fully disappears. As you imagine living under this constant watch, notice how heavy it feels. There is no escape from rules, no space where the self can fully relax. This is one of the quiet reasons why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. The challenge is not only physical hardship, but the endless mental effort required to exist correctly in a world where every detail matters. As the night grows quiet now, let these thoughts soften and drift away. You do not need to carry this pressure. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, without rules or expectations. Imagine that by now you have spent some time living in feudal Japan. The first shock has passed, but the quiet pressure of daily life has begun to settle on your body and mind. What makes this world so difficult is not constant violence or chaos, but the endless presence of rules, expectations, and unspoken codes. Every movement matters. Every gesture carries meaning. Even silence has rules. You cannot simply exist without awareness. You must always know where you stand, who is above you, and how you are expected to behave in every moment. From the moment you wake up, life feels controlled by structure. There is no sense of personal freedom as you understand it today. Your position in society determines everything: how you speak, how you bow, how you walk, where you sit. Even how you breathe in the presence of others feels measured. A small mistake, an incorrect tone, or a careless posture can be seen as disrespect. Disrespect is not taken lightly. It does not require anger or shouting. It is met with quiet judgment, long memory, and consequences that follow slowly but surely. Silence itself becomes heavy. Conversations are careful and limited. People do not speak openly about their feelings, their worries, or their dreams. Words are chosen slowly. Many thoughts are never spoken at all. This creates a constant inner tension. You may want to ask questions, express confusion, or share fear, but you learn quickly that doing so can make you stand out. And standing out is dangerous. Blending in becomes a survival skill. Over time, this silence presses inward, making the mind feel crowded even when the surroundings are calm. Daily labor adds another layer of exhaustion. Most people work from early morning until the light fades. Farming, carrying water, repairing tools, cleaning homes, preparing food, and serving those above you leave little energy for rest. There are no shortcuts. Tools are simple. Tasks are repetitive. The body aches become normal. Pain is not discussed. Complaints are not welcomed. Endurance is expected. This quiet suffering is shared by many, but rarely acknowledged. Everyone carries it alone. Food, though simple and nourishing, is limited. Meals are small and repetitive. Rice, vegetables, and occasional fish make up most diets. Hunger is familiar. Fullness is rare. Eating is not a moment of pleasure but a brief pause before returning to work. There is no constant access to comfort food or treats. Even drinking water requires effort. Clean water is not guaranteed. Illness spreads easily, and medicine is limited. The body learns to function while tired, hungry, and slightly unwell most of the time. Social pressure is always present. Your family name, village, and lord define you. Individual desires mean little compared to duty. If you fail, it is not just your failure. It reflects on everyone connected to you. This creates constant internal pressure to perform correctly. Shame becomes a powerful force. It shapes behavior more strongly than fear. The idea of bringing shame to oneself or one's family is deeply painful. Many choices are made not from desire, but from the need to avoid dishonor. As night comes, rest does not bring full relief. Sleeping spaces are simple. Floors are hard. Walls are thin. Privacy barely exists. Sounds travel easily. The body remains alert, even in rest. Dreams are light. Sleep is broken. You wake early, often before your body feels ready. There is no concept of sleeping in. The day waits for no one. Fatigue accumulates slowly, week after week, month after month, without real recovery. Over time, this life reshapes you. Modern expectations of comfort, freedom, and expression fade quickly. What replaces them is restraint, awareness, and endurance. And this is why, for most people today, lasting even a single day in feudal Japan would feel overwhelming. not because of constant danger, but because of the quiet, unending weight of rules, silence, and duty pressing gently, but firmly, on every moment of life. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image to soften. You do not need to carry it forward. Let the stillness return. Let your breathing slow. Let your body rest, knowing that this world belongs to the past and you are safe here in the present. By the time you have spent even a short while in feudal Japan, you would begin to understand that survival was not only about strength, food, or shelter, but about knowing rules that were never clearly explained. Life was guided by customs so deep and so strict that breaking them even by accident could bring serious trouble. These rules were not written on signs or spoken openly. They lived quietly in gestures, posture, tone of voice, and silence. A wrong bow, a poorly chosen word, or even standing at the wrong distance from someone could mark you as disrespectful. And disrespect in this world was dangerous. Hierarchy shaped everything. Every person had a place, and that place mattered more than comfort or fairness. Samurai, peasants, artisans, monks, merchants, each role came with invisible boundaries. If you were born into one, you stayed there. Moving above your station was not admired, it was suspicious. Moving below it was shameful. Knowing how to act around someone of higher rank was essential, yet mistakes were easy. You might speak too directly. You might fail to lower your eyes. You might forget to wait for permission before acting. These small errors, harmless in another time, could carry heavy consequences here. Daily life demanded constant awareness. Even walking through a village required care. You had to know who had the right of way, who should be greeted first, and who should be avoided entirely. Silence often mattered more than speech. Saying nothing was sometimes safer than saying the wrong thing. This made social interaction exhausting. The mind stayed alert, not for physical danger but for social missteps. Over time, this constant pressure drained energy quietly, making even simple encounters feel heavy. Honor was central to feudal Japanese life, but it was not flexible. Honor was not about how you felt inside, but how you were seen by others. A single mistake could stain your reputation permanently. Apologies were not always enough. Once trust was lost, it was rarely restored. This created a society where people guarded their behavior carefully, often hiding emotions to avoid risk. Smiles were controlled. Anger was restrained. Fear was concealed. Living this way required constant effort, and for someone unfamiliar with these customs, it would feel overwhelming very quickly. Punishment did not always come loudly. Often it arrived quietly. A door closed to you. A service denied. A warning delivered through silence rather than words. In more serious cases, consequences could be harsh and final. Authority figures were respected without question. Arguing or explaining yourself was rarely welcome. Obedience was expected, not negotiated. For someone suddenly waking up in this world, adjusting to such strict control would be deeply unsettling. As the day moved on, you would feel the weight of these rules settling into your body. Your shoulders tense, your thoughts slow as you carefully choose every action. Even rest would not feel fully safe, because tomorrow would bring the same unspoken expectations. The mind would long for ease for a moment without judgment, but feudal Japan offered little space for that. As the night grows quiet now, imagine stepping back from this world of constant awareness and restraint. Let the rules fade into the background. Let your body relax, knowing you do not need to perform or remember anything anymore. Stay still. Breathe slowly. Allow rest to return gently, without effort. In feudal Japan, life was shaped not only by work and survival, but by an invisible weight that followed every person everywhere they went. This weight was honor. Honor was not a personal feeling or a private belief. It was a social rule that everyone around you could see, judge, and measure. From the moment you woke up to the moment you lay down to rest, your actions were watched, remembered, and quietly evaluated. Even small mistakes could damage your reputation, and once damaged, honor was almost impossible to fully restore. This constant awareness made daily life tense in a quiet, unspoken way. People moved carefully, spoke politely, and controlled their emotions, not because they felt calm, but because showing the wrong feeling at the wrong time could bring shame. Obligation filled every part of life. You were born into a role, and that role decided almost everything for you. A farmer farmed, a craftsman crafted, a warrior served. These roles were not choices. They were duties passed down through family lines. Leaving your role was not freedom. It was failure. People worked not only to survive, but to fulfill expectations placed on them long before they were born. This made life feel narrow and heavy. Dreams were not encouraged. Individual desires were quietly set aside. What mattered most was doing what was expected, even when it was exhausting or painful. Community life added another layer of pressure. Villages were close and tightly connected. Everyone knew everyone else's business. Privacy, as we understand it today, barely existed. If you struggled, people noticed. If you failed, people remembered. If you broke a rule, even unintentionally, the memory could follow you for years. This constant observation created a quiet fear of standing out. People learned to blend in, to act predictably, and to avoid attention. Being invisible felt safer than being noticed. For those in higher positions like samurai or officials, the pressure was even heavier. Honor was tied to loyalty, obedience, and control. Showing weakness or doubt could be seen as dishonor. Emotional expression was tightly restrained. Grief, fear, and exhaustion were expected to be hidden behind calm faces and careful words. This emotional control did not bring peace. It created distance between what a person felt and what they were allowed to show. Over time, this separation became tiring, making inner life feel lonely and unsupported. As you imagine living under these expectations, notice how quiet and heavy it feels. There is no sudden danger here, no loud violence, just a steady pressure that never fully lifts. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Life was not only physically demanding, but emotionally restrictive, shaped by rules that followed you even into moments of rest. As the night grows quiet once more, allow this weight to soften and drift away. You do not need to carry it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow and gentle. Allow rest to continue calmly, without effort. As life continued in feudal Japan, one of the heaviest things a person carried was not food, tools, or weapons, but rules. Rules were everywhere, shaping each movement, each word, and even each thought. From the moment you woke until the moment you slept, your place in society decided how you should behave, where you could walk, how you should bow, when you should speak, even how long your eyes could rest on another person. These rules were not written for comfort. They were written to maintain order, and living inside them required constant awareness. For someone unfamiliar with this world, the pressure would feel endless and exhausting. Honor was deeply connected to these rules, but it was not the calm, noble idea often imagined today. Honor was fragile. It could be damaged by small mistakes, misunderstood gestures, or careless words. A moment of disrespect, even unintentional, could bring shame not only to you, but to your family and community. This fear shaped behavior quietly, but constantly. People learned to control their expressions, soften their voices, and hide emotions. Joy, frustration, curiosity, and fear were all managed carefully. Over time, this emotional restraint became tiring. The body stayed calm on the outside, but inside, tension never fully disappeared. Daily interactions required careful balance. Speaking too freely could be seen as arrogance. Remaining too quiet could be seen as suspicion. Even kindness had rules, guided by rank and position. Helping someone above you could be disrespectful. Helping someone below you could create obligation. Nothing was simple. Every action carried meaning beyond itself. This constant calculation drained the mind, leaving little space for rest or ease. For those born into this system, these rules felt natural, learned slowly from childhood. But for someone suddenly waking up in feudal Japan, this invisible structure would feel overwhelming. The absence of freedom to act naturally would be shocking. Even simple things like walking through a village or entering a home required knowledge and awareness. Without it, mistakes would come quickly, and consequences would follow silently. As night arrived, these pressures did not fully disappear. Sleep offered rest to the body, but the mind often continued to replay the day. Words spoken, gestures made, moments questioned. This habit of reflection was encouraged as a way to improve oneself, but it also kept the mind active. True mental rest was rare. Even in quiet moments, the sense of responsibility remained, pressing gently but constantly. As you imagine this world of quiet pressure and constant awareness, notice how heavy it feels without being dramatic. There is no chaos here, no loud conflict, only structure, expectation, and restraint. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because life was always dangerous, but because it demanded continuous self-control and attention, without pause. As the night grows quiet now, allow these thoughts to soften and drift away. You do not need to hold on to them. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, in its own time, as the story fades into the calm of the night. In feudal Japan, one of the heaviest burdens a person carried was not hunger, not labor, and not even fear, but the constant presence of rules that shaped every moment of life. From the moment you woke up to the moment you rested at night, your behavior was guided by expectations you did not choose and could not escape. These rules were not written clearly for everyone to read. They lived in tradition, in social order, and in quiet understanding passed down through generations. You were expected to know your place without being told, and stepping outside that place even slightly could bring serious consequences. Life was lived carefully, with attention to posture, tone of voice, timing, and silence. Imagine waking up in a small wooden home, the air cool and still. Before you speak, you think. Before you move, you pause. Respect governs everything. Who you greet first, how deeply you bow, how long you hold eye contact, and when you are allowed to speak, all depend on who stands before you. These small details may seem minor, but together they create a heavy mental load. The mind stays alert at all times, scanning for mistakes, measuring behavior, adjusting words before they are spoken. This constant self-control is exhausting, especially when rest is already limited. Social rank defines your entire world. If you are born into a low class, you remain there. There is no simple path upward. Your clothing, your food, your work, and even your posture reflect your position. You cannot dress like someone above you. You cannot speak to them as an equal. Even walking past them requires awareness. This separation is not cruel in a loud way. It is quiet and accepted, which makes it harder to question and harder to escape. Over time, people learn not to imagine different lives because imagining brings discomfort with no solution. Obedience is taught early and reinforced daily. Children learn to listen more than speak. Questions are not encouraged. Curiosity is controlled. The ideal person is calm, respectful, and predictable. Emotional expression is limited. Anger, excitement, or sadness shown openly can be seen as weakness or disrespect. Because of this, feelings are often kept inside, unspoken and unresolved. The body remains calm on the outside, while the mind carries unshared thoughts that have nowhere to go. Even joy follows rules. Celebrations exist, but they are structured and restrained. Laughter is controlled. Movement is measured. There is little space for spontaneous freedom. This makes life feel narrow, shaped by boundaries that are always present but rarely discussed. Over time, this constant restraint dulls emotional experience. Life becomes steady and quiet, but also heavy and tiring in a slow, persistent way. Silence plays a powerful role in feudal Japan. Silence is not emptiness. It is communication. Pauses carry meaning. Saying nothing can be safer than speaking. Because of this, conversations are slow and careful. Words are chosen sparingly. The mind learns to hold thoughts instead of releasing them. This creates a calm surface, but beneath it lies tension that never fully disappears. Even rest does not fully release this tension, because the habit of control follows the body into sleep. As the day moves toward evening, the weight of these expectations does not lift. Even at home, behavior remains shaped by role and duty. Family members also have positions. Respect flows in certain directions. Freedom is limited even among those closest to you. Life feels ordered, stable, and predictable, but also tight, like clothing that fits but never loosens. As you imagine living under this constant structure, notice how quietly exhausting it feels. Nothing dramatic happens, yet the effort never stops. This is one more reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because of sudden danger, but because of the unending pressure to be correct, obedient, and silent in a world where every movement matters. As the night grows quiet now, allow this heavy sense of order to soften and fade. You do not need to carry it forward. Let your body rest. Let your breathing slow. Allow the calm to return gently, without rules, without expectation. As life continued in feudal Japan, one of the heaviest burdens resting quietly on every person was not hunger, not danger, and not even hard work, but the constant pressure of rules and expectations that shaped every movement, every word, and even every thought. Feudal Japanese society was built on strict order. From the moment a person woke up to the moment they lay down at night, they were expected to know their place and remain within it. This was not a choice. It was the structure of life itself. To step outside of it even slightly was to invite punishment, shame, or worse. Honor was not something personal. It was something assigned. A farmer, a servant, a merchant, or a warrior all carried a version of honor that came with rules they could never escape. For common people, honor meant obedience, silence, and endurance. It meant accepting hardship without complaint and showing respect even when treated harshly. Speaking out of turn, questioning authority, or showing frustration could be seen as disrespect. Even facial expressions were watched carefully. A lowered gaze, a bowed head, and quiet speech were signs of safety, not politeness. Living this way required constant control over the self, and that control slowly drained the spirit. For those living under samurai rule, the presence of authority was always close. Samurai were not distant figures seen only in stories. They walked the same roads, passed through villages, and enforced rules without warning. A mistake, a misunderstanding, or even an unlucky encounter could change a life instantly. There was no modern legal system offering protection. Power was immediate and personal. This meant that fear was woven gently but firmly into daily life. Not dramatic fear, but steady awareness, the kind of fear that keeps the body tense even during quiet moments. The pressure did not end inside the home. Families passed these rules down carefully, teaching children from a young age how to behave, how to speak, and how to disappear into obedience when necessary. Childhood was not free or playful in the way we imagine today. It was training. Training to survive within a system that rewarded silence and punished deviation. Over time, this created adults who rarely relaxed fully, even in moments of rest. The body learned to remain alert, and the mind learned to hold thoughts inward. Shame was another powerful force. In feudal Japan, shame was often considered worse than physical punishment. Being shamed meant losing place, respect, and identity. This made people careful to the point of exhaustion. Choices were limited not only by rules, but by fear of dishonor. Even accidents could carry social consequences. A wrong word spoken, a gesture misunderstood, or a failure to show proper respect could ripple outward, affecting family and community. Because of this, people lived cautiously, measuring themselves constantly against expectations they did not create. As you imagine living inside this quiet pressure, notice how heavy it feels even without violence or noise. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. The strain was not always visible. It lived inside the body and mind, shaping how people breathed, moved, and rested. Life required constant awareness, constant restraint, and constant submission to a system that left little room for individuality or ease. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image of structured pressure to soften and fade. You do not need to carry it with you. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow naturally. In the next part, we will gently move forward and explore how sleep, rest, and quiet moments offered small relief in a world shaped by rules and restraint. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own gentle time. Imagine waking up in feudal Japan and slowly realizing that almost every part of your life is controlled by rules you never agreed to and cannot escape. These rules are not written down in a way you can easily read or question. They exist quietly, deeply woven into daily life, passed from one generation to the next. From the moment you step outside, your posture, your tone of voice, and even where you stand matters. A small mistake is not corrected gently. It is remembered. And being remembered for the wrong reason is something people try very hard to avoid. In feudal Japan, society is arranged like layers of stone, heavy and unmoving. Everyone has a place, and moving outside that place is not encouraged. Farmers farm, artisans make goods, merchants trade quietly, warriors follow strict codes. You are expected to know your role without being told. Asking questions does not bring comfort, it brings attention, and attention is dangerous. The safest life is one where no one notices you at all. Even the way you walk matters. Moving too confidently can be seen as disrespect. Moving too slowly can be seen as laziness. Speaking too directly can be taken as rudeness. Remaining silent too long can be taken as suspicion. This constant balance is exhausting. Your mind is always working, always checking itself. Over time, this quiet pressure wears you down. You are not tired from labor alone. You are tired from watching yourself every moment. Freedom as we understand it today does not really exist here. You cannot easily choose where to live, what to do, or how to express yourself. Clothing shows your status. Hairstyles show your role. Even colors can carry meaning. Wearing something above your station is not seen as ambition, it is seen as arrogance, and arrogance is not forgiven easily. The safest choice is always simplicity, always restraint, always blending into the background. Food, too, reflects this controlled life. What you eat depends on who you are and where you belong. Meals are plain and repetitive. There is comfort in routine, but also limitation. Eating too well can raise questions. Eating too little shows hardship. Even nourishment must remain balanced, quiet, unremarkable. Pleasure is not the goal. Survival and order are. Religion and belief quietly guide behavior as well. Shinto and Buddhist ideas shape how people think about duty, suffering, and acceptance. Life is not expected to be easy. Endurance is admired more than happiness. Quiet strength is valued more than visible emotion. Expressing frustration openly does not bring relief. It brings shame. Over time, people learn to carry their burdens inward, shaping a calm face even when the heart feels heavy. As the day continues, you begin to feel how small your personal desires are compared to the expectations placed upon you. There is little room for individuality. Even joy must be measured. Even rest must look proper. The idea of living for yourself feels distant, almost impossible. Life is about maintaining harmony, not personal comfort. As the night grows quiet, imagine lying down after such a day. Your body is tired, but your mind is even more exhausted. You replay your actions, your words, your posture, wondering if you followed every rule correctly. Sleep comes slowly, not because of fear, but because of responsibility that never truly leaves you. This is one of the deepest reasons why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because the people were cruel, but because the system was heavy. Life demanded constant awareness, constant restraint, constant acceptance. For a modern mind used to choice and expression, this quiet wait would feel overwhelming. As the night settles around you now, let these thoughts soften and fade. You do not need to hold them. Let your breathing slow. Let your body rest. The past can remain in the past. By the time you had spent some days in feudal Japan, one thing would become very clear, even if no one ever said it out loud. Life was surrounded by rules, expectations, and silent pressure. These rules were not always written, and they were not always explained. They existed in behavior, posture, silence, and tradition. From the way you walked to the way you spoke, and even the way you stood still, everything mattered. A small mistake could be noticed, remembered, and quietly judged. Imagine waking up each day knowing that your actions were always being observed. Not openly, not loudly, but quietly. In feudal Japan, society was deeply structured. Everyone had a place, and stepping outside that place even slightly was dangerous. Farmers, artisans, merchants, warriors, and servants all lived under clear social expectations. You could not simply act as you wished. You had to act as your position allowed. This constant awareness shaped how people moved through the world. It made daily life careful and restrained. Even simple things like greeting someone carried meaning. Bowing too little could be seen as disrespect. Bowing too much could seem strange or dishonest. Speaking too directly could be rude. Speaking too softly could appear weak. Silence itself carried weight. Knowing when to speak and when not to speak was a skill learned slowly, often through correction and embarrassment. For someone unfamiliar with these customs, surviving even one day without offending someone would be difficult. This pressure followed people everywhere. In villages, in towns, and even inside the home, behavior mattered. Children were taught early to control their emotions. Loud anger, open sadness, or public joy were discouraged. The ideal was calm behavior, balance, and self-control. While this created order, it also created internal tension. Feelings were often held inside, managed quietly rather than expressed. Over time, this emotional restraint became exhausting. Work was also shaped by strict expectations. A farmer was expected to work from early morning until nightfall, especially during planting and harvest seasons. Rest was limited and often filled with guilt. A samurai lived under a code that demanded loyalty, discipline, and honor at all times, even when no one was watching. Failure to meet these expectations could lead to shame, punishment, or worse. There was little space for personal comfort or personal choice. Even clothing reflected social rules. What you wore showed who you were, where you belonged, and what you were allowed to do. Wearing clothing above your status could attract suspicion or punishment. Wearing something too worn could suggest failure. Every layer, every fabric carried meaning. Getting dressed was not just about warmth or comfort, it was about identity and obedience. As the day moved on, this quiet pressure did not ease. Meals were eaten with care. Conversations followed invisible lines. Body language mattered. The constant effort to remain proper, respectful, and controlled drained energy in a way that physical labor alone could not. By nightfall, the body might be tired, but the mind was even more exhausted from watching itself all day long. As you imagine living under these conditions, notice how heavy it feels. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady and constant. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. The challenge was not only hunger, hard work, or danger, but the endless need to be careful, respectful, and restrained in every moment. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image of quiet pressure to soften and fade. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body rest. Let your breathing slow. In the next part, we will gently move into another layer of feudal life. Always calmly, always slowly. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. As life in feudal Japan moved quietly forward, one of the hardest things to survive was not hunger, work, or weather, but the constant weight of expectation. Every person lived inside a strict order that controlled how they spoke, how they walked, how they bowed, and even how they thought. From the moment the day began, behavior was watched closely, not always by guards or rulers, but by neighbors, elders, and family members. Reputation mattered deeply, and a single mistake could follow a person for years. This created a life where people learned to control themselves at all times, keeping emotions small and actions careful. Silence was not just calm, it was required. Speaking too freely, laughing too loudly, or questioning authority could bring shame, and shame carried serious consequences. Daily life was shaped by duty rather than comfort. People woke early, often before sunrise, and began work immediately. Farmers tended fields with care, knowing that crops supported entire communities. Artisans worked patiently, repeating the same motions day after day. Servants moved quietly through homes, careful not to draw attention. Rest was limited and often earned only after long hours of labor. Even moments of peace were controlled by ritual and custom. Sitting, eating, and sleeping followed expected patterns. There was little space for personal choice and very little room for rest of the mind. Social class controlled everything. Where you lived, what you wore, what you ate, and how you were treated depended entirely on your position. Moving between classes was almost impossible. A farmer remained a farmer. A servant remained a servant. Even if someone was talented or intelligent, their future was already decided at birth. This lack of mobility made life feel fixed and narrow. Hope had to be quiet, because imagining a different life often led only to frustration. Survival meant acceptance. Family life carried heavy responsibility. Children learned discipline early, watching adults closely and copying their behavior. Obedience was valued more than expression. Parents rarely showed affection openly, not because they did not care, but because restraint was seen as strength. Emotions were managed quietly, kept inside, and shared only in safe moments. This emotional control helped maintain order, but it also created inner pressure. Feelings had few places to go, and over time this created deep mental fatigue. Honor and duty guided behavior more than personal happiness. People were expected to act in ways that protected family reputation and social balance. Individual desires came second. Sometimes they did not matter at all. Decisions were made for the group, not the self. This constant sacrifice of personal comfort slowly wore people down. Life became about endurance rather than enjoyment. As you imagine living this way, notice how exhausting it feels even without chaos or noise. Everything is quiet, controlled, and restrained, yet deeply demanding. This is another reason why you wouldn't last a day in feudal Japan. The challenge was not constant danger but constant discipline. Not loud hardship, but quiet pressure that never truly faded. As the night grows still now, allow this image to soften and drift away. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body remain relaxed. Let your breathing stay slow and steady. Allow rest to continue gently, without effort. In feudal Japan, one of the heaviest burdens a person carried was not hunger, fear, or labor, but the constant presence of honor. Honor was not an idea that rested quietly in the background. It followed people everywhere, shaping how they walked, how they spoke, how they bowed, and even how they breathed. From the moment a person woke up to the moment they lay down at night, their actions were measured against invisible expectations. There was little room for personal comfort or individual expression. Life was lived under watch, even when no one was physically present. The mind learned to police itself, correcting thoughts before they became actions, and this constant self-control drained energy slowly, day after day. For ordinary people, this pressure showed up in small, exhausting ways. A farmer could not show frustration openly. A servant could not question orders. A merchant had to display respect even when treated unfairly. Every interaction carried rules that were learned early and rarely explained again. Making a mistake was not just embarrassing, it could damage one's reputation permanently. Shame traveled fast and stayed long. Because of this, people lived carefully, always aware that one wrong word or gesture could follow them for years. This made even simple social moments feel tense and tiring. For warriors and those connected to them, the pressure of honor was even heavier. The idea of loyalty was absolute. Once loyalty was given, it could not be withdrawn without serious consequences. Personal feelings did not matter. Fear did not matter. Survival itself often came second to duty. Living under these rules meant that the body could never fully relax. Even rest carried a sense of responsibility. Sleep came, but it was shallow, because the mind stayed alert, reviewing behavior, remembering expectations, and preparing for the next day. This constant awareness affected how people rested at night. Lying down did not always bring peace. Thoughts returned again and again to moments from the day. Did I bow correctly? Did I speak too freely? Did I show enough respect? These quiet questions repeated themselves in the mind, making rest fragile. Waking during the night was common, not from noise but from thought. The body wanted sleep, but the mind struggled to let go of its watchful role. Honor also limited emotional expression. Showing sadness, anger, or confusion openly could be seen as weakness. Because of this, emotions were held inside. Over time, this created a deep inner pressure. People learned to appear calm while feeling overwhelmed. This disconnect between inner experience and outer behavior made life feel heavy, even in moments that should have felt simple. Joy was restrained. Relief was brief. Calm was practiced rather than felt. As you imagine living under this constant weight, notice how tiring it feels without being dramatic. Nothing explodes. Nothing collapses suddenly. Instead, energy is slowly drained by careful living. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because people were cruel or life was always violent, but because the rules of behavior never truly allowed the mind to rest. As the night grows quiet now, allow this heavy sense of duty to soften and fade. You do not need to carry it forward. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow. Allow the idea of honor to drift away with the darkness, leaving space for rest to return gently, in its own time. In the next part, we will move slowly into how this pressure shaped family life and personal relationships. Always calmly, always gently. By the time the sun rose on another day in feudal Japan, survival had already begun, even before a single step was taken. Life here was not built around comfort or personal choice, but around discipline, obedience, and quiet endurance. Every action, from how you stood to how you spoke, carried meaning. A small mistake, a moment of distraction, or an unguarded expression could bring serious consequences. This constant awareness shaped the body and mind into a state of permanent control. People learned not to relax fully, not because danger was always present, but because it could appear without warning. Imagine waking up in a wooden home with thin walls and cold air slipping in through the cracks. The floor beneath you is hard. Your body feels stiff from sleep that never truly rested you. There is no soft morning routine, no gentle beginning to the day. Instead, there is duty. You rise quietly, aware that noise draws attention. Even the way you move is measured. Respect is shown through posture, silence, and restraint. In feudal Japan, discipline was not taught only through words. It was learned through daily life, reinforced again and again until it lived inside the body. Food offers little comfort. Meals are simple and repetitive. Rice, vegetables, perhaps fish if you are fortunate. Eating is not indulgent. It is functional. Hunger is common, but rarely spoken of. Complaining is seen as weakness. This quiet acceptance of hardship is admired, expected, and passed down through generations. Over time, the body adapts, but it does not thrive. Strength is maintained through routine, not nourishment. Fatigue becomes familiar, carried silently throughout the day. Social rules add another heavy layer to survival. Feudal Japan is deeply structured. Everyone knows their place, and stepping outside of it is dangerous. You cannot speak freely to those above you. You cannot ignore those below you. Every interaction requires awareness of rank and expectation. Bowing too little or too much can send the wrong message. Words must be chosen carefully. Silence is often safer than speech. This constant calculation makes even simple human interaction exhausting. Fear does not always appear as panic. More often it exists as quiet caution. The fear of punishment, the fear of dishonor, the fear of bringing shame to one's family. Shame, in feudal Japan, carries a weight heavier than pain. It follows a person, shaping decisions and limiting freedom. This fear keeps people controlled, obedient, and alert. It is effective but deeply draining. Rest is brief and never complete. Even at night, the mind remains aware of surroundings. Sounds from outside, footsteps, distant voices, all pull awareness back to the surface. Sleep comes lightly and leaves easily. Dreams, when they appear, are often shallow and fleeting. Morning arrives before the body feels ready and the cycle begins again. As you imagine living like this day after day, notice how heavy it feels without being dramatic. There is no single moment where life becomes unbearable. Instead, it is the accumulation of restraint, hunger, silence, and discipline that slowly wears a person down. This is why you wouldn't last a day in feudal Japan. Not because of one great danger, but because survival itself demanded everything. every single day. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image to soften and fade. You do not need to hold it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, without effort or expectation. As the day in feudal Japan slowly faded into night, the darkness did not bring the kind of rest we imagine today. Night was not a reward for surviving the day. It was simply another space where rules, awareness, and restraint continued. Imagine lying down after a long day of labor, hunger still resting quietly in your body, muscles aching from repetitive work, and the mind still alert because tomorrow would bring the same demands again. There were no soft beds, no quiet rooms meant only for sleep. Most people rested on thin mats, often shared with others, separated only by simple walls or cloth. Sounds traveled easily. Breathing, movement, coughing, even whispers filled the night. Privacy was rare, and true silence almost never came. Sleep itself was light and broken. People woke often not because of dreams, but because the body never fully relaxed. The floor was hard. The air could be cold or damp. Insects moved freely. Fires burned low, giving just enough warmth but also smoke that lingered in the air. Even rest required endurance. The body learned to sleep in short stretches, drifting in and out of awareness. Deep sleep was a luxury few experienced regularly. Waking up tired was normal. Feeling fully rested was rare. For common people, the night carried quiet fear. Not dramatic fear, but steady awareness. Fires could spread. Authorities could arrive unexpectedly. Someone higher in status could demand attention or labor even after dark. For servants, peasants, or lower-ranking workers, rest could be interrupted at any moment. The body learned not to sink too deeply into sleep, because being ready mattered more than being rested. For samurai or those living under strict codes, the night carried its own weight. Honor did not sleep. Reputation did not rest. Even alone, the mind replayed behavior, words, posture, and duty. A mistake made during the day could echo through the night. This mental burden made relaxation difficult. Rest existed, but peace was fragile. Dreams, when they came, were quiet and ordinary. Not grand visions, but simple reflections of daily life. Fields, tools, footsteps, voices. The mind did not escape far from reality, because reality never loosened its grip. Morning arrived quickly, often before the body felt ready. There was no choice but to rise, adjust clothing, and return to routine. As you imagine this night, notice how tiring it feels without drama. This is why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because of battles or danger, but because rest itself was incomplete. The body was never fully allowed to recover. Day followed night, and night followed day without pause. As the night grows quiet now, allow this world to fade. You do not need to stay there. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. Unlike them, you are allowed to rest deeply. Let sleep come gently, without duty, without fear. By the time you truly understand life in feudal Japan, you would realize that survival was not just about strength or skill, but about obedience to rules that reached into every moment of daily life. These rules were not written clearly for everyone to read. They were learned slowly, through fear, habit, and watching others suffer the consequences of getting something wrong. From the way you bowed, to the way you spoke, to the way you walk down a road, everything was controlled by an invisible structure that never rested. Even a small mistake made without bad intention could change your life forever. Social order ruled everything. Your position in society decided how you dressed, where you lived, what you ate, and even how loudly you were allowed to speak. A farmer could not behave like a warrior. A merchant could not dress like a noble. A peasant stepping out of place could be punished simply for forgetting their role. This constant awareness pressed down on the mind, making every action careful and restrained. There was no freedom to experiment or express yourself. Life was about fitting into a shape that had already been decided long before you were born. Movement itself was restricted. Roads were watched, villages were controlled. Travel often required permission, and being in the wrong place at the wrong time could bring suspicion. Guards did not need proof to stop you. Your appearance, accent, or behavior could be enough. This meant that fear followed people even during ordinary activities like visiting a market or carrying goods. The body learned to stay tense, alert to danger that could come without warning or explanation. Authority in feudal Japan was absolute. Local lords, officials, and warriors held power that could not be questioned openly. Justice was not gentle or balanced. It was fast and often final. Punishment was meant to be seen, not to be fair. This created a quiet obedience throughout society. People learned to lower their eyes, keep their words simple, and accept decisions without protest. Even thoughts felt dangerous if they lingered too long on the idea of unfairness. Daily life under these rules slowly shaped the inner world. People stopped asking why things were the way they were. Acceptance became a survival tool. Dreams were kept small. Hope was careful. Anything that stood out attracted attention, and attention was rarely safe. Over time, this constant pressure drained curiosity and spontaneity from life. What remained was routine, repetition, and endurance. As you imagine waking up into this world, feeling these invisible rules surround you, notice how heavy it feels. Nothing dramatic needs to happen for life to feel exhausting. Just existing within this structure would slowly wear you down. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Survival required not only physical strength, but the ability to shrink yourself, your voice, and your desires day after day, without relief. As the night grows quieter now, allow these thoughts to soften and drift away. You do not need to carry the weight of this world with you. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow naturally. Allow rest to continue gently, in its own calm time. As the day slowly came to an end in feudal Japan, night did not arrive as a time of rest in the way we imagine it today. Darkness settled quietly over villages, fields, and wooden homes, but exhaustion was already deep in the body long before the sun disappeared. After hours of physical labor, careful behavior, and constant awareness of social rules, the body felt heavy and worn. Muscles ached not from exercise, but from survival. Hands were rough from work, backs were bent from years of effort, and breathing slowed naturally as energy faded. Nightfall did not bring relief. It simply marked the moment when the body could finally stop moving. Imagine lying down on a simple floor, often covered with thin mats or straw, feeling the firmness beneath your tired body. There were no soft beds, no cushions shaped for comfort, and no quiet rooms filled with silence. The house itself breathed with the night. Wooden walls shifted slightly. The wind moved through small openings. Insects hummed softly outside. These sounds were familiar and constant, forming a background that people accepted rather than questioned. Sleep came slowly, not because the body resisted it, but because the mind was still holding on to the weight of the day. Thoughts lingered quietly in the dark. Did you show enough respect to those above you? Did you follow the rules closely enough? Did you avoid drawing attention to yourself? In feudal Japan, mistakes were not easily forgiven, and tomorrow always carried new expectations. Even as the body rested, the mind remained gently alert, trained by years of discipline and caution. Sleep was light and broken, drifting in and out rather than arriving all at once. Waking during the night was normal, and returning to rest happened without panic or frustration, simply as part of the rhythm of life. The night air often felt cool, especially in homes without strong insulation. Blankets were simple and shared when possible. Warmth came more from closeness than from materials. Families slept near each other, not for comfort alone, but for practicality and safety. Privacy was rare, and the idea of personal space was very different from today. This closeness created a quiet sense of connection, even in exhaustion, reminding everyone that survival was shared. As the night stretched on, the body recovered only enough to rise again before dawn. Sleep was not about feeling refreshed. It was about gathering just enough strength to face another demanding day. Dreams, when they came, were simple and fleeting, often blending into waking thoughts. The boundary between rest and awareness remained soft, never fully separating the two. Now as you listen, imagine carrying this rhythm inside your own body. Long days, simple nights, and rest that never quite feels complete. This is why lasting even one full day in feudal Japan would feel overwhelming to a modern mind and body. Life demanded endurance, patience, and acceptance of discomfort as normal. As the night grows quiet around you now, let these images slowly fade. You do not need to hold on to them. Let your breathing soften. Let your body sink into stillness. Unlike the people of feudal Japan, you are allowed to rest deeply tonight. The story will continue gently in the next part, but for now, remain still. Let the quiet carry you forward. Let sleep come in its own calm time. As time moves deeper into the world of feudal Japan, one of the heaviest realities begins to settle quietly over everything. Life was ruled by duty, silence, and endurance. From the moment a person woke up to the moment they finally lay down to rest, their actions were shaped by rules they did not choose. Society was built on strict roles, and stepping outside those roles was not just discouraged, it was dangerous. Farmers worked because they were born farmers. Warriors served because they were born into service. Craftsmen labored because that was their place. There was little room for personal desire. Life was not about what you wanted to be, but about what you were expected to endure. Silence played a powerful role in daily life. Speaking too freely could bring trouble. Questioning authority could bring punishment. Even emotions were often hidden, controlled, and swallowed. People learned early to keep their thoughts to themselves. This constant restraint shaped the mind deeply. Feelings did not disappear, but they were pushed inward, creating a quiet pressure that never fully released. Over time, this made life feel heavy and slow, not because things were dramatic, but because everything had to be held inside. Daily work was long and physically exhausting. Fields were worked by hand, roads were walked, not ridden, Tools were simple and unforgiving. The body ached regularly, and rest was limited. Food was plain and repetitive, meant to keep the body moving rather than bring pleasure. Hunger was common, especially during hard seasons. Illness had few treatments, and recovery depended more on time than care. Even small injuries could become serious. Living meant accepting discomfort as a normal part of existence. Honor and duty were spoken of often, but they came with a heavy cost. For warriors, loyalty to one's lord mattered more than life itself. Obedience was expected without hesitation. Failure was not corrected gently. Shame followed mistakes closely, and the fear of disgrace shaped behavior every day. This constant pressure to live correctly created deep mental strain. The mind rarely relaxed, even in moments of rest, because responsibility never truly ended. For ordinary people, fear moved quietly beneath the surface of daily life. Taxes were heavy. Authority was distant and absolute. There were few ways to escape hardship. Natural disasters, poor harvests, or political conflict could destroy entire villages with little warning. People learned to live with uncertainty, accepting that control over life was limited. This acceptance brought a calm on the surface, but beneath it was constant awareness that stability could vanish at any moment. As you imagine yourself waking up in this world, feeling the weight of expectation, the pressure of silence, and the endless cycle of work, it becomes clear why lasting even a single day would feel overwhelming. There is no space to be careless, no space to complain, no space to rest deeply. Life demands attention, restraint, and endurance at all times. As the night grows quiet now, allow this heavy world to slowly fade away. You do not need to carry its rules or its burdens. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow gently. Allow rest to return, softly and naturally, as this long journey through feudal Japan continues toward its final moments. As life in feudal Japan continued, one of the most difficult things for an outsider to endure was not violence, hunger, or fear, but silence. Not the peaceful silence we imagine today, but a silence filled with rules, expectations, and unspoken pressure. This was a society where words were chosen carefully and often not spoken at all. What was not said mattered just as much as what was said. A small gesture, a pause, or a lowered gaze carried meaning. For someone unfamiliar with this world, the constant need to read silence would be deeply exhausting. Imagine waking up in a small wooden home, the paper walls thin, the morning quiet except for distant footsteps and the soft sound of wind. No one speaks loudly. No one laughs freely in the early hours. Every movement is measured. You would feel watched, not because someone is staring, but because society itself is always present. Every action reflects not just on you, but on your household, your village, and your place in the social order. This weight settles quietly on the mind. In feudal Japan, hierarchy shaped every interaction. You could not simply speak your thoughts. You could not question authority openly. Respect was not optional. It was woven into daily life. Bowing correctly, speaking at the right moment, knowing when to remain silent. These were survival skills. A mistake was not always punished immediately, but it was remembered. Reputation mattered deeply, and once damaged, it was difficult to repair. This constant awareness created tension that never fully disappeared. even in moments of rest. Silence followed people into their work as well. Farmers labored quietly in the fields, focused and steady. Craftsmen worked with patience, repeating the same movements for hours. There was beauty in this calm, but also pressure. The expectation to endure without complaint was strong. Pain, exhaustion, and frustration were not openly shared. They were carried inward, stored quietly in the body and mind. Over time, this created a deep emotional restraint that outsiders would find overwhelming. At night, the silence changed but did not leave. The world grew darker, lamps dimmed, and voices lowered even further. Homes were small, privacy limited, yet conversation remained minimal. Thoughts were kept inside. Reflection happened quietly. Sleep came slowly, shaped by the events of the day and the constant awareness of one's place in society. Even rest was disciplined. There was no loud release at the end of the day, only a gradual settling into stillness. For someone suddenly placed into feudal Japan, this silence would feel heavy. Modern life allows constant expression, noise, and release. In contrast, feudal Japan required emotional control at all times. This control was admired, respected, and expected, but it came at a cost. The body learned to hold tension. The mind learned to stay alert even in quiet moments. True relaxation was rare. As you imagine yourself lying down in this world, notice how the quiet feels different. It is not empty. It is full of meaning, rules, and awareness. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because the people were cruel, but because the culture required a level of discipline and restraint that few outsiders could maintain for long. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image of silence to soften and fade. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body relax where you are. Let your breathing slow. Allow rest to return gently, without rules, without expectations. Imagine now that you have lived in feudal Japan not for a moment, not for a day, but long enough for the rules to settle deep inside your body. At first, everything felt unfamiliar. The bows, the silence, the careful movements, the strict order of society. But over time, something heavier begins to appear. It is not fear anymore. It is duty. A quiet, constant weight that presses down gently but never leaves. In feudal Japan, duty was not something you chose. It was something you were born into. Your place in society decided how you lived, how you spoke, how you moved, and even how you thought. Breaking these expectations did not always bring loud punishment. Sometimes it brought quiet shame, which was often worse. Every action carried meaning. The way you sat, the way you walked, the way you spoke to someone above or below you in rank. There was little room for personal expression. You could not simply be yourself. You had to be correct. Correct in posture, correct in words, correct in behavior. Over time, this constant self-control became exhausting. The body learned to stay tense even in moments of rest. The mind learned to measure every thought before it reached the lips. Silence was not peaceful. Silence was watchful. As days passed, the quiet became heavier. People did not speak openly about their fears, their doubts, or their hopes. Emotions were kept inside, folded away like clothing never meant to be worn. Smiling too much could be seen as foolish. Speaking too freely could be seen as disrespectful. Even laughter had its place and time. Because of this, emotional release was rare. Feelings had nowhere to go. They stayed inside the body, slowly building pressure without sound. Life moved slowly, but it was never relaxed. Even during calm moments, there was awareness. Awareness of rank. Awareness of rules. Awareness of unseen expectations. The body might be sitting still, but the mind was always working, checking and correcting itself. Over time, this constant awareness drained energy in a quiet way. You did not feel suddenly tired. You felt slowly worn down. At night, when the world finally grew still, rest did not come easily. Sleep was light. Thoughts lingered. Did you bow correctly today? Did you speak too much? Did you show the right respect? These questions drifted through the mind as the body lay still. Dreams, when they came, were often quiet and strange, filled with repetition rather than adventure. Waking up did not feel refreshing. It felt like continuing something that never truly stopped. In feudal Japan, honor was everything, but honor was fragile. One mistake, one misunderstood action, could follow a person for life. This knowledge shaped behavior deeply. People learned to limit themselves, to shrink their world to reduce risk. Over time, life became smaller. Safer perhaps, but smaller. Personal desire faded. Survival meant obedience, not freedom. As you imagine living under this quiet pressure, notice how calm it looks from the outside and how heavy it feels on the inside. This is another reason why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because of violence or danger alone, but because of the silent, constant demand to never be wrong, never be free, and never truly rest. As the night grows quiet now, let this image soften and fade. You do not need to carry its weight. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow. Allow the silence around you to be gentle, not watchful. Rest can come now, without rules, without rank, without duty. As the night slowly settles over feudal Japan, everything begins to soften. The narrow paths between wooden homes grow quiet. Lantern light fades into darkness. The sounds of daily labor, discipline, and duty gently disappear. In this world, life was never easy, never slow, and never forgiving. Every role came with rules. Every rule came with consequences, and every day demanded awareness, obedience, and restraint. To wake up in feudal Japan, even for a single day, meant stepping into a life shaped by hierarchy, survival, and silence. People did not live for comfort. They lived for order. Farmers rose before the sun and worked until their bodies ached. Samurai lived by strict codes that left little room for rest or softness. Merchants moved carefully through society, watched and judged. Women carried quiet responsibilities, managing homes, children, and traditions without recognition. Children learned discipline early, shaped by expectation rather than choice. Life moved forward not through freedom, but through duty. Food was simple and repetitive. Rest was brief and uncertain. Clothing was practical, not personal. Entertainment was controlled, quiet, and limited. Even emotions were measured, held inside, and rarely shown. Mistakes were not small things. A wrong word, a wrong action, or a moment of carelessness could change everything. Survival depended on knowing your place and never stepping beyond it. This is why you would not last a day in feudal Japan. Not because people were cruel, but because the world itself demanded constant awareness. There was no space to relax into who you were. Life required you to become what society needed you to be, every single day, without pause. As the night deepens now, imagine stepping away from that world. Imagine leaving behind the rules, the tension, and the unspoken pressure. The wooden doors close softly. The lanterns go out one by one. The past settles back into itself, where it belongs. You are here now, safe, still, resting. Let the story fade. Let the world grow quiet. Let your breathing slow. Nothing is expected of you tonight. Good night. And sleep peacefully.